Hello guys. I recently viewed my analytics and found that people are watching my video but not subscribing my channel. Please subscribe my channel so that I can feed my cat.
Eddie is a fairly normal misogynistic a-hole who bangs a lot of girls. After getting his heart broken in high school, after finding out that the girl he had a crush on started to date his bully. Eddie now is the well-known author of the book, Have Your Cake and Eat It Too, where he teaches guys how to pick up girls with easy steps. His best friend, Steve, is not much different, wanting to bang anything that moves. One night, while on his way to a charity fashion show, Eddie encounters a crazy old woman in an alley. She chews him out for not respecting women and demand that he kiss her, to prove that he can see the beauty inside. Eddie thinks this is all some sort of joke and brushes the woman off. She then does something weird with her stick. Inside the party, Eddie picks up another woman by playing on her insecurities. After chatting her up, she invites him back to her place and they engage in demonetizing activities. After resting up after that workout, Eddie goes to take a leak, but finds that his man thing has vanished and that he is now a woman, a fine one I might add. He then rushes out of the apartment and calls Steve to come over, but Steve doesn't trust the strange female on the phone, so Eddie tricks Steve by telling him that Eddie wants a three-way. Steve heads over to the apartment but Eddie is nowhere to be found, just a hot girl standing in front of him. Eddie then convinces Steve that it is really him by revealing some things only they would know, like how they had a very sus moment between them. Immediately Steve wants to smash but Eddie blows him off. They both try to figure out how this could have happened when Eddie recalls meeting the strange woman in the alley, turning her down because she was hideous, to which Steve replies that he would have gone all the way if he had the chance. They both then plan to track down the homeless woman, and head over to a nearby homeless shelter, hoping to get lucky, lying that the woman stole from him. They have no luck, but meet Jess the manager briefly, and leave thinking of her as a plain Jane. They return to Eddie's place where Steve convinces him to embrace being a woman, and the two then go out to get a makeover. They go shopping for clothes, getting a hairdo and waxing Eddie's down under, much to the enjoyment of Steve, who is looking for a chink in the armor. Eddie then goes jogging where she gets hit on, but runs the guy off by telling him that she has a man thing. Later, Eddie joins Steve and their agent Molly for drinks at a bar, where she sees Jess from the shelter. Eddie then goes over to talk to Jess, who is sitting alone reading. The two chat it up, and Eddie instantly likes Jess, but finds that she cannot make a move, since Jess tells her she is straight. Eddie learns that Jess is very insecure, and plans to help her out by giving her tips to pick up guys. The two hang out before Eddie helps her back to her apartment. The next day, Eddie heads over to a demonetizing store to get herself some personal impaling items for her enjoyment. There she meets a guy, Matt, who likes her, and invites her out for drinks, giving her his card. Eddie however thinks that he would be good for Jess. Before setting her up with Matt, Eddie takes Jess to get her hair done and give her a makeover. The two then head over to meet Matt, and Eddie makes up an excuse and leaves, leaving the two to get to know each other. Eddie then goes by Matt's office and learns from her employees that he is married with 3 kids. Eddie is furious and goes to see Steve, who is quite impressed with Matt for pulling that off. Eddie though is starting to see things from a woman's perspective, no longer impressed with the things he once wrote about. At a fashion show, Eddie goes to see Jess, and tells her about Matt, but Jess does not believe him. Eddie even confesses that he is a guy in a girl's body, telling her the entire story. Jess thinks Eddie, or Edna as he introduced himself, is crazy, and tells her to never contact her again. Feeling depressed, Eddie and Steve hang out and Steve sees the chink in the armor and goes for it. Eddie is game, and tells Steve that she is going to get freshened up. The plan goes out the window when Eddie finds out that it is her time of the month. After getting hit on for the millionth time, Eddie then decides to write a new book. Expressing her feelings of being a woman and how men should treat women, she passes the old woman one day who is secretly pleased with Eddie's change. Another guy bumps into her and ends up starting his own movie. The next day, Eddie wakes up as himself, calling Steve immediately, who I think must be disappointed to hear the news. A few months later, Eddie's new book is a bestseller, attracting a lot of female fans. He meets Jess later and confirms that he was actually Edna. Jess forgives him and the two decide on starting over, now that Eddie is a new person. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.